Good afternoon. This is Gail Anderson, and you have joined Mentoring Moments for Moms. So happy to have you this afternoon. If you've joined us before, then you know that I get on maybe a couple times a week and talk about things that affect moms, parenting, personal development, household management, kids, marriage, all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed getting to connect with all of you, and this week I promised you that we would talk a little bit about the preteen years, preparing for the teenage years. Now there's probably a lot of you who aren't at that stage, but I want to stress this is the time to start preparing. Start listening and preparing so that you are ready and your kids are ready for that time. Thanks for those hearts. If you like what we're talking about, please go ahead and tap on the screen, give me some hearts. I'm just glad that you're here today. How many of you actually have preteens? Let's say preteens. Ooh, that's too much sun. Okay, let's turn this way. Preteens. How many of you have preteens? I know I had 5 kids, and yes, there were rough times. That's completely normal. But what we're going to talk about is some hints as to how you can get through that in a great way without feeling like you wish you'd never have gone through it. I know for me, as far as my own teenage years, they were stressful. I felt weird, growing like crazy, didn't like what my body was doing, felt like I had no friends, super high and super low times, and it made it very difficult. I do not look back on the teenage years with much joy. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about some things that will help you to prepare so that your kids have a better experience going through the teenage years. I mean, those hormones and the things that you're going through with friends can be very, very difficult. So it's important that we stay close to our kids. We're close to them the whole time up to this, but sometimes when they start pushing us away, then we feel like, okay, I just need this separation, let them do what they're gonna do. And that is not the most helpful thing. So I've got several points. We'll see how we get through them today. If you're watching on replay, thank you, I appreciate you. All the replays of all the scopes I've done are on YouTube, so I would love for you to just peruse all those different videos and watch whatever pertains to you and the stage that you're at right now. So the first thing would be to get ahead of the game. Now we follow Dr. Dobson and some other teachers who said prepare your kids by the time that they're 9 or 10 for what is going to happen in the teenage years. That way you can give them some warning. You want to be positive, but you also want them to realize that it could be kind of a crazy time. And if they learn all of their stuff from their friends, that could be kind of weird. So there's a lot they could be learning from their friends in today's world. So you want to be able to not beat the rush with everything, but at least get to the point where you'll be able to tell them those things. The second thing is just to establish trust with them. This happens in all those years before the teen years. You establish that trust. Time sowing into them, interest in what they're doing, staying up on what's going on in their lives, being willing to listen, especially as they get to the preteen and teenage years. Listening is so important. Sometimes just listening to what they're going through can help them get over the hump and go on, even if you're not giving them any input. So make sure that you have that trust established. All of this should be essential beforehand, and you need to keep it up in the teen years. Now, we like to talk about mom and dad being the coach for their teens and preteens. If you stress that God put a specific person in their life to be their coach, somebody who's been there, somebody who's done that, somebody who can help you through it, somebody who's willing to listen and give you input when everything seems lost, and that person is your mom or your dad. I like to think that dad is for the boys and mom is for the girls, but you know what? As moms, we spend more time with the kids, so we really need to cross that bridge also with the guys. I remember one time, one of my boys asked me some real specific questions about female cycles, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're asking me this. But There was a trust and an openness in our relationship enough that he would ask. And I felt like if he is willing to ask, then I am willing to answer. It was hard for me, but I did. He wanted to hear from a woman's standpoint. Thanks for joining us today. If you want to share this broadcast, please swipe to the right. We're talking about preteens and teenagers, how to prepare in the preteen years for your kids when they get to be teenagers. Okay, the next thing I would say is to keep the communication lines open. Make time to be around them. Make time to listen, even if you don't have time. Make the time to listen to them when they want to talk. I love times when I was in the car with my teens or preteens, and both of us are looking forward, so they're not even thinking about having to look in mom's eyes and tell her this terrible thing or ask her, what does this mean? It's a wonderful time when you're in the car and they come up with questions that are just really wild. So get off your phone and make that time in the car, time when you can be talking and visiting, saying, hey, how are things going? What's new with you? Anything you want to ask me about? How you doing with your friends? What's new at school? And what's new with this teacher in your class? Stay up with them. Keep those communication lines open. And again, if they start asking you things that you feel are a little bit uncomfortable for you to answer, keep those communication lines open by either answering or saying, I will find out. Or Dad and I will talk to you about this at a later time, and then set up a time in a few weeks or something. But don't make them feel embarrassed for asking. Make sure that you are the one they're going to come to and ask those things. When they ask something weird, it is nice to say, okay, why are you asking? Find out the context, because they might not be asking you what you think. Okay, next thing is watch their desire to be part of a group. Now, I like to say that we build that sense of community, that sense of group, that sense of identity in our families. You do that by making your family special, by doing things that are great together, by having open communication and fun times and just rah-rah times as a family. But there will be times that they may start looking at another group. And I like to say, okay, let's look at whether this group is challenging them to be better. Is this a group of Christians who are working in ministry? Oh my gosh, then of course you want to encourage them to be around them. But what other groups might they feel the pull to be in? So watch that and be sure to ask them about that. And stress that your kids are individuals. They are not like every other kid, and they are not going the same place that every other kid is. Billy may spend all his time playing video games. That's great. But God may have a lot bigger plans for your child than he does for Billy. So you may want to encourage your child to do something better with his time. Okay, help your child figure out who he is. What are his gifts and talents? Where can he use those gifts? How can you help him develop them? And how can you help him share those gifts, either at church or with friends or with brothers and sisters? Each one of us has to know that we have specific gifts and talents that can be used and that can be shared to bless other people. And this will be a way that your children will feel more confident in who they are if you are reinforcing that. Okay, this is a big one. I talk about the cloud. The cloud is really a time where your teenager, and we go through the same thing sometimes, especially as women, certain times of the month, certain times in our life journey. We do not see the reality of things. There's a cloud hanging over us. We can't even tell you why, but everything looks bad. Everything looks negative. Oh my gosh, you just want to cry, 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 and just forget about it all. But it's a cloud, and as soon as those clouds move away, the sunshine is back there. So teenagers, I really believe, go through this time of having a cloud or being under a cloud often. We've got to be prepared for it, and we've got to help them understand how to get through it. The thing with our feelings are they change from moment to moment, from hour to hour. So that's one thing to stress right there. Also, those feelings that we're having are not always the reality. behind that cloud is the sunshine. And if you can just talk or cry or do something that will help you feel better, then you can get beyond that cloud and see what reality really is. So ask your child, what can I do to help you? Just reach out. You know, you may need to call an audible, forget everything you're doing the rest of the day, and just take your child out for some fun one-on-one time, shopping or out to eat or to the zoo or something where you've got time together. You will be able to tell when they need that specific time with you. So don't push it off because you have other things. Your children are some of the most important things in your life. You only have them for a certain amount of time, and whatever time you are sowing into them is going to show up later on. It is going to be something that you are going to receive benefit from, even if you're not seeing it now. Thanks for those hearts. I appreciate that. Okay, it's funny. I say that there's a time too, as dealing with older parents right now, that they're under the cloud. They see things that are not reality at all. They perseverate on certain issues or items or processes that really have nothing to do and aren't that important. It is really funny to see this. And I know most of you aren't at that stage. No problem, just put it away for later on. But you know, the thing is, I have no trouble driving, even though I drive 40 miles an hour. I make no left-hand turns, you know, all those kind of things that elderly people might do. It's very interesting. They will not see when it's time to give up their car. They will not see when it's time to give up their finances. And I've already talked to my kids in preparation and said, hey, you all come to me and you tell me. We talked about this beforehand. So anyway. Interesting thing to see that, those different stages that we go through all along in life. The last thing I definitely want to recommend is that you let out what we call the leash. Now, granted, our kids are not animals, but we do have a rein on them, especially as they're younger. And as they begin to get in those preteen years, we need to start letting out that leash, giving them some responsibility for their own life. We should begin to start trusting them with their own decisions and letting them take the consequences of those decisions. Now, granted, we still want to guide them, we still want to have a lot of input, but we definitely want to help them to feel autonomous, that they can start doing some things on their own. Don't let it out too quick, but don't let it out too late, or you'll see your kids rebelling later on. It should be a gradual process. Now I'm thinking there's something here that I was going to, explaining why we do certain things. This should be something that we do all throughout their childhood. But as their understanding deepens, as they get older, then our explanations need to be more complex. They need to understand the why. Because if they don't understand the why about us doing certain things, then number one, they're not going to follow the decisions the way we want them to. And they're also not going to be able to generalize from one situation to another. Now, this is a really simple situation, but just to help you understand the generalization. We're at a park. Our child's been drinking a soda, and they're just going to throw the soda can down on the ground. And we're saying, no, we need to recycle this, blah, 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 blah. So we put it over in the recycling bin. Well, if they don't understand the importance of cleaning up after ourselves, leaving a beautiful park beautiful, then when they're somewhere else, they're going to think, oh, there's no recycling bin, I just drop it here. There needs to be generalization from specific situations to other things in their lives. And that's why the why is so important to understand as they are making decisions and as they are learning from us. I always start explaining things really simple in the preschool years. Just a simple statement, even if they can't understand. But as they get to like 7 or 8 and they start being able to reason, then they need to understand a lot more of the why, and as they get to teenagers, even more. You will see teenagers questioning everything we've taught them all along. But if we can explain why we do this, why this is good, how we're blessed, how it helps everyone else, and just think about, what if everybody else in the world did this? Would that be good or would that be bad? That helps us to be able to make good decisions and be great inhabitants of this earth and in a community of people where we are proud of ourselves, independent, and are making good contributions to society. So anyway, tomorrow I'm going to get on here with my husband. We'll try and get on at 10:30 in the morning. And we're going to talk about some specific events during the preteen and teenage years that can help you navigate the whole teenage thing. And these were a key for us, and that's why we're sharing them with you. They helped us be able to establish the trust, keep the communication lines open, sow into our children. And we got through those teen years pretty well. The interesting thing is, by the time all of our kids turned 18 or 19, they thought we hung the moon. They were literally coming back to us and saying, oh my gosh, thank you for the way you trained us with finances. Thank you for the way you taught us to clean house. I am so blessed that you homeschooled me, Mom. I mean, it was really awesome, very humbling, but awesome. But all of our kids actually did that. Even though there were times of struggles when they were teenagers, they came back afterward. And now that they're parents, oh my gosh, it is just awesome to hear them coming back and saying, now I see why you did that. Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna do that with mine. It's very, very cool. So anyway, that's all for today. I hope you'll write to me. My email's in the profile. I will probably also put a couple of book recommendations. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Shannon. I always love hearing from you guys. If you want to watch my other scopes, over 150 now, just go on YouTube under Gail Anderson or Mentoring Moments for Moms, and you can see all sorts of topics. We love to hear from you guys. Love to hear from you while you're watching too, but I know a lot of you are busy moms who don't watch till later. My husband also has a website, KirbyAnderson.com. There's a lot of great information on there. There's blogs from both of us, as well as video blogs he's sending out this year. So please get your husband connected as well. My husband does one-on-one coaching. We just like to be able to be a blessing to people and sow into their lives. Hi, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you though. Okay, so thank you all, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day.